Hey guys, it's Jeff from Home Renovision here today, and today I'm here to help you understand all about the plumbing basics so that you understand the system in your house when you're renovating, what you can do, what you can fix, how to get things done right, and how not to mess it up. Let's face it, I think it was Neil Armstrong was asked once, he goes, interviewed, how does it feel to be doing something so important as to walk on the moon? And he goes, that's not important. Plumbing is important, right? That's just the bottom line. He understood the concept of something simple, executed poorly, causes major problems. And if you're like most homeowners, you've had plumbing leaks, you've had problems with drains, problem with venting, water moving too slow through your lines. And so in a lot of cases, it's a really simple fix. And I'm gonna help you understand today all the things that you need to do to solve all of these problems. So we're gonna start off with talking about all the different fittings, the plumbing, water supply systems, the drain, the venting, how it's all connected, how to do a good joint. We're going to show you the layout for how to run the plumbing for underneath your concrete in your basement floor. We're going to show you how to make an addition. We're going to show you how to bring new venting in through the roof. It's going to be very comprehensive, okay? So there's going to be some timestamps in the description of this video so that you can get the information you need down the road as more of a resource. But for right now, let's just jump into this and we'll talk about my favorite plumbing. When it comes to water supply, of course, is PEX. Now, PEX has come a long way recently with its reputation. When it first came out, everybody thought it was the devil. And it cuts really simple, like just with a pair of scissors. And the idea is you cut and you twist the pipe so you don't collapse the pipe, all right? The connecting on these is absolutely amazing. All you have to do is take your fitting, and they come as couplings like this. Boom, you can get T's, okay? Or you can get end caps. And it's like Lego for grown-ups, really, and what this stuff is. I mean, it's kind of fun to work with, to be honest with you. Now, when you're working with PEX, the rule is this. Always take your line, add your copper ring, and yes, resist the temptation to buy the cheaper crimpers and the pinch together rings. I know we actually have a video of that in our series somewhere, but it is not the best system, okay? It has a very high failure rate right off the bat. And so if you're doing plumbing in your home, you don't want to have to turn on the water, do a pressure test, and have a leak right away. So this stuff will not fail if you do it right. Okay, now, I bought all these tools at Home Depot, and this is awesome because you can actually make adjustments for how much pressure you want to use. So you basically slide the ring over, all right, close that onto the ring, and you push until it makes connection on the handle. You'll make that distinctive sound, okay? That fitting right there, it's not going anywhere. Tests have been done, and they show that this joint done that way is better than welded copper, okay? It's better than using the torch. Even if you freeze this pipe, it will expand and that joint will not leak and the pipe will not break. So if you're in a northern climate, there are advantages to using PEX that far outweigh any possibility that, oh, maybe having plastic pipe delivering your drinking water isn't a great idea. And if you're really concerned about that, then buy your drinking water separately. But this is awesome for plumbing. Now, we'll put that away. As I go, I'm gonna try to clean the bench off so I can demonstrate some other things to you later. Once you've got your water supply, you gotta remember there's a couple of other options. There's this fitting right here, and it's a PEX connection on the top. And here it's actually designed to be sweat welded over copper. Okay, so you can actually torch that onto existing copper lines and convert to PEX, all right? The other thing you can do is you can use a shark bite and basically just push this on the copper end and then you run your PEX in the other side. It's like a Chinese finger puzzle. These things are awesome. And now they're offering a 25-year guarantee on them, which is great because it takes a lot of the fear out of the business. Now, if you want to see more about copper to PEX plumbing, we've got a video link that you can check the card up here. It's just a little eye that shows up in the corner of the screen. If you hover your mouse over that or you touch that on your touch screen, it'll open up all the links from the video that are available to you. So there you go. The only other thing you're going to need is, remember, all of your water supply lines should be 1.25 inches from the front of a stud, right? If it's too close to the stud, Install one of these plates over the water supply line on the set, so that when you're attaching your drywall or your other fixtures, not accidentally going to go through and puncture your water line. In a lot of cases, when you drive a screw into a piece of PEX, it can take years before the screw deteriorates and allows the water to leak. But when it happens, baby, it really has it comes out with violent attitude. Now we got water supply out of the way. Let's talk about our plumbing. We're gonna go through the fittings first, okay? Let's start with the basics. We have what's called a T. Now, where I live, we use ABS, all right? Some of you are gonna use CPC or maybe other materials around the world I'm not familiar with, but the concepts are very similar. Everywhere you go, you're gonna have a lot of similarities. So this is not designed to be like the Bible of plumbing, but it should be enough to help most people out here watching understand what's going on. So this is a T. It's basically an intersection, okay? And you'll see that it has a slope built into the body, and that is the direction that things are moving, okay? So if you want something to go down, you don't install it this way. That will cause you problems. Now, this fitting is called a T, this is called a Y. That should be pretty easy to wrap your mind around. We also have different angles, okay? You can buy them in 90 degrees, okay? That's a sweeping 90. The unique thing about this is actually all rubber, which can come in really handy, all right? If you're doing a conversion from steel piping or copper piping, you can actually put the pipe in one end, tighten up the ratchet on this bad boy, all right? So universal, boom, done. That's it. That's plumbing, okay? So you can connect pipes using something like that. But for the rest of the time, we're gonna be using ABS glue. Now this is, we call it glue, it's actually a solvent. So it doesn't glue anything together. What it does is it melts the ABS. And so then if you glue the fitting and the pipe, you're melting both products and then they bond together, okay? So we've got a 45-degree angle. It comes also in 90-degree angle. Also comes in what's called a 45 street. Difference being here is, generally with fittings, you need a piece of pipe to go from fitting to fitting. But in this case, the pipe goes on the fitting. No pipe necessary. This is a 3-inch bushing that goes down to a 1.5-inch pipe. Okay, so you can shove it in the end of a 3-inch fitting and convert to 1.5. That can be really handy, especially if you're adding venting somewhere that doesn't have it already. Okay, we'll get into some of the applications in a minute. But the bushings also come for 2-inch to 1.5, all right? What this one does is it goes in the end of a 2-inch pipe and allows the 1.5 to come in the other side. This is a really valuable little bushing, especially if you're doing Schluter shower systems. A lot of the shower drains that are out there are 2-inch pipe on the drain, and in a lot of regions we're still using 1.5-inch pipe to supply the drain to the shower. So you can use this fitting, shove it in the Schluter, and then connect your regular plumbing right into it. That'll save your bacon. You can also get an end cap, okay? This is to glue permanently onto a pipe that's disconnected its function, and that works great. And we also have these things here. Let me just go through. All right, this is called a trap adapter. Now most of this plumbing is going to be in the walls, in the floors, under concrete, but this is used underneath your sinks, okay? That's actually 1.5 inches, which is designed for kitchen. They also come in 1.25 inches, which is designed for bathroom vanities and drains there. They have a different dimension, so make sure you get the right one. Don't just reach into the box at the local Home Depot and grab the fitting because it says so on the box. Double check, okay? People grab and throw them back. It's all messed up. That happens every day. Every time I go there, I always got to stop and really think, is that going to fit? It drives you crazy. Now, it comes 2 different ways. The trap adapter can come so that it sits inside a fitting, okay? Like that, okay? And they also have it made so that it can go over top of pipe. All right, so depending on the scenario you're dealing with, you might have to go one or the other. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Other fitting options. These are amazing. This particular fitting option here is designed, if you'll notice, the gasket on this side is really thick, okay? And on the other side is very thin. And this little connection here is designed, it connects 2 different sizes of pipe. And this is why. When we talk about the size of pipe, for instance, this is 1.5 inches, all right? Now it's 1.5 inches on the inside, all right? And it's very important to understand when you're dealing with plumbing, all of your modern fittings, they're all labeled for the interior of the pipe, not the outside dimension, okay? So when you grab something like this that says 3" to 3", what they're talking about is a standard ABS pipe that's 3" on the inside. This will fit over top of the pipe to make that connection. It's very strange. So here we have, what does this one actually say? This is 1.5" to 1.5". But you'll notice that it's for 2 different kinds of pipe. So this one actually goes on 1.5" ABS, and you can stick 1.5" copper. Because the 1.5" copper has got the same dimension on the inside of the pipe, but the outside is very, very thin. And so this is made to connect copper to ABS. Now, in a lot of situations, you won't see copper in a lot of houses in the drain system anymore, but if you buy an older home, it was very common back in the 60s and 70s. Remember back in the 50s and 60s, everybody in the world was manufacturing products to compete for the plumbing market. We had everything in the world being thrown at us. Still today, you can open up some old homes and find plumbing and go, what the heck is that? Things that look like fiberglass casts, like for your arm if you broke your bone. I've seen just about every material known to mankind try to be used for plumbing. So it's very important if you get stuck and you're working on your house, know that these fitting options are available. You don't have to go to a specialty store. You can go to your local building store. And in most cases, you can find something that'll go from the old pipes that are in your house to the new standards, okay? And that is very handy. And while we're talking about these types of fittings, this is awesome because you can also get them to go from 4" to 3", or 3 to 2, or 2 to 1.5". They make these flexible couplings for all those situations. These are really handy when you're dealing with underneath your concrete, you've opened up your floor, and you've got to go from one fitting, one pipe size to the next, and there's not a lot of room to work. Remember, this kind of fitting, the pipe ends here on both sides. So you need a lot more room to maneuver. You can't just cut open the floor, cut a pipe, and stick this in. It's impossible. So what you have to do is you have to take the pipe, you take the fitting, and you gotta get it over the pipe. Now, one of the ways to do this is to twist it as you push. This is not gonna work for me, is it? This is gonna make me look bad. I bet this is too tight. Hang on, let me try this. And if you wanna make it really simple, you can use a lubricant, like a little Vaseline or something like that, because they are so exact. And generally you just twist them into place. Trust me, you're gonna wanna use the lubricant. Like, that's crazy. But listen, it does fit. It's just so perfect that if you don't get the lubricant on there, all right. I got it. I got it, Max. How long am I gonna fight with this on camera, you think? All right. I'm down a couple of inches now. But listen, if you put on the lubricant, then it'll help. It'll slide over a lot easier. I almost need some butter or something. This is crazy. All right. Okay, here we go. My point was, you can slide it over the pipe, all right? Then you can stick in something like this. You can cut little 3 inches of pipe to go on, okay? Yeah, all right? So you can cut your pipe to go on, and then you slide this back up, and then you make the connection on both sides. That was a lousy example, but hopefully you get the idea. So your pipe's buried underneath the stone and the concrete. You cut a section, you slide your fitting over, you take your new fitting, okay, and you put it in place with the pieces of pipe, and then you slide it over and you screw it together. Now, this is how we did the plumbing in that video. I'll put the link in the box, but we opened up the floor, moved all the stone, and then all I had to have the plumber do was come over and cut the pipe and stick everything together. And he was only there for half an hour or so, I think. He put it together in no time. And it's a great DIY trick that you can actually use for yourself. You can open your own floor and move all of the stone out of the way and create a place where the plumber can get his job done in a heartbeat. Save yourself a lot of money. We'll put that link in the card as well. Now I can't get this off. Should have brought the Vaseline. I don't have any freaking Vaseline. Can't take this fitting back to Home Depot and get my money back if I can't get it off. All right. Now, whenever you're doing plumbing, you have to bring support to the pipe. So what we use is all round, okay? And it's just metal strapping, comes in a box, it's full of holes, okay? And you can cut it, wrap it around your pipe, okay? And what you do is you can put this up by a stud, where you wrap it around your pipe, and just throw a screw through the 2 holes into the framing, and you can hang your plumbing anywhere inside your cavity, your joist cavity. This is very important. You don't support your pipes. That solvent joint that we talked about earlier that you get with the glue, it will break under pressure, okay? So if you combine a bad slope without support, you're gonna end up breaking joints and causing floods. A couple of other products I wanted to show real quick, and then we'll get into some of the technical assemblies of how to put these systems together, and that is plumber's putty. If you're gonna be doing plumbing on your own, okay, you're gonna need this little magic stuff here. This is basically, it's a gasket that comes in Play-Doh. It kind of reminds you of playing like a kid, all right? And you can just run this out and create gaskets for yourself. This is going to be important for different shower situations, different sink situations, kitchen sinks, your vanities, anywhere where you're adding a drain into porcelain, you're going to need a gasket like this. All right, so make sure you pick some of this up if you're doing a whole bathroom. Plumber's putty. Don't leave home without it. All right, of course, last is Teflon tape. Now, Teflon tape, we're going to demonstrate a little later in the video, but it's really important. Plumbing needs to do 2 things. It needs to seal up for water and air, because the drain also acts like a vent. And when you're not using your plumbing system, you're not pulling fresh air down into the pipe. So what happens is the sewer gases will back up through the system, okay? And so if you don't have all of your threaded connections with Teflon tape, the gases will work its way into the room and it just stinks something horrible. It's also not very safe. So keep Teflon tape handy. You're going to need to seal all your joints that have a plastic thread to thread situation, and we'll cover that again in a few minutes. Now, I want to talk about these tools here. These are awesome, okay? This is just a pipe cutter. They come in 1.5 or 2 inch. They're my favorites because they're like 20 bucks. You can get really nice pipe cutters out there, and if you're a plumber, you probably use a more expensive tool. But for the DIYer, if you're gonna do a bathroom project, this stuff rocks. So you can just get 2 inches of pipe, no problem, right? Problem solved. That is amazing. That leads us to our next demonstration. When you're dealing with plumbing, you're dealing with building code. And if you're smart, you're getting your work inspected, because the plumbing inspector will not only say, hey, it's inspected and passed, and so your house valuation will be protected, but he'll also be able to say, hey, you did something terribly wrong here, you gotta fix that. And most inspectors are gonna be pretty much gentlemen about it. If you have a modicum of common sense and you can put your plumbing together, if you make a mistake, they'll explain what the mistake is so that you can go fix it, and then you just call them back for another trip. It's not the end of the world. One of the most common mistakes is there's a change in the plumbing code. I'm going to call it recent. We used to use this, 90, for all kinds of situations where we were taking a turn. You know, we're going one direction, we want to take, just put on a 90, no problem. But if this is a drain scenario and it's on the flat, and it's not like this, especially if it's on the flat, they were running into too many problems with there's too much resistance, there's clogging, there's issues going on. So what they did is they changed the code to make it a much bigger sweep, okay? So what they want you to do is go like this now, instead of this, okay? And what it does is it takes that same turn over a much bigger area, all right? Okay, now this is a 1.5 inch 90, but it's a long sweep. We're going to demonstrate that in our plumbing. We're going to do a little connection of a whole bathroom for you. And I'll show you the difference between the 90 short and long sweep. But the idea is this: if you're trusting on these to make all of your turns, you're going to run into trouble, especially with an inspector. They're going to want to see 245s put together with at least 1 inch of pipe, okay? Or you can buy the long elbows, they're called. All right, so there's a 90 and there's a long 90. So make sure you get the right fitting when you're shopping. Other things you're gonna need to know what these are. These are brilliant. These are temporary caps. So if you're doing plumbing, like I said, when you connect it to the main stack of the house, you're connecting to the street sewer or you're connecting to your sump pit or something like that. And you've got to protect the gases from coming back in. And what these are designed to do, they slide over a lot easier than those fittings, but they just pop in place and they're temporary. And I get the orange ones because it's obvious, okay? Every time I see an orange cap, for me, it means that it's not just an end cap. It means the pipe it's attached to isn't glued in either, all right? If I've got a glued in pipe, then generally I'll use the blue ones. That's my system. You can use that if you like. The point is, there are a lot of situations where the pipe will be connected and we'll have used the solvent to connect them to the joint. And we'll put this on for sewer gas protection, right? And then we'll cut the pipe later to add the fitting. So there's two different functions. It's good to know what's what. This is a good little trick I'm going to teach you right now. When you're buying your pipe at the store and you're taking it home, 3-inch pipe, you can stick the 2-inch pipe in it. And then the 1.5-inch pipe, and guess what? Yep, they all fit together, okay? And so if you put all of your lengths in pipe like that, then it doesn't go blowing out of the back of the truck. Just a thought. We're at that time in the video, we're gonna talk about the plumbing that's under your house, okay? This is the plumbing that's under your floor, 4-inch. It's massive, right? Okay, it's called the lateral. And this runs from the house, down the pipe, right to the city sewer. Now, when it's gonna come into the house, they throw one of these on. It's a 4 to 3, okay? And if you can imagine, this is all underneath your concrete layer, laying it on dirt and rocks basically right now. And then they add a 3-inch piece of pipe, usually a lot taller. They'll throw on a test cap, okay? Boom. And then when they've got that in place, then they pour their concrete, all right? And then after the concrete is poured and it's ready to walk on, the plumbers will come by, they'll take the cap off, they'll stick on one of these, okay? And they'll put it in a TY. This becomes the stack. If you're adding a stack in your house, you're opening up your floor and you're adding a stack, you've got to have a TY, and then there's this fitting here, okay? It's threaded, and this actually goes in the fitting, and the cap has a rubber gasket on it, all right? If it doesn't have a rubber gasket, you've got to use the Teflon tape. And this is called the clean out. There's a huge 1-inch square nut on it, all right? Back in the days when steel, they used to have lead, and oh my goodness, but we still have these big square nuts. This is now what's gonna happen. So now you've got, this is your water. If you're in your basement and you see this, you cannot use this to add plumbing to your house. Okay? Resist the temptation to go, ooh, great, I can put in a wet bar. This is not to be used for venting or drains. This is to be used simply for those occasions where you get a plug in your system and the plumber can come on your house and put a snake down their hole, go follow along your lateral pipe, clean out the debris or the tree roots, all right? High pressure hoses for that situation. Whatever's going on outside the pipe, outside the house, all the way to the street. Now, you might have your house set 100 feet back from the road. This pipe needs to have access for plumbers to do maintenance on. So do not use this to run plumbing, okay? If you need to add plumbing and you're in a basement and you got this scenario, stick another TY right here, okay? Cut the pipe, put in a TY, use the rubber gasket situation if you have to, but do not use this. Okay, I've hammered Jim over the head enough with that. Now I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go, I've got a little display set up and we're gonna connect the plumbing, run the pipes all together and show you how this gets done. All right, here we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna assemble a basic layout for a bathroom, okay? I got a 4x8 sheet of plywood here, which is perfect because most bathrooms are like 5x7. So we're gonna give you an idea of what's going on. This is gonna represent our pipe coming into the area. And if you're in a basement and you're under the concrete, let's just pretend we got a great big hole opened up here. We see nothing but dirt and gravel around the edges. And if you're upstairs and you're working between your floor, this will be the same situation, only these pipes in most cases have to be, well, drilled through the joist package, but in a lot of cases you're not allowed to drill a 3-inch hole for the pipe. So it has to be located strategically, all right? So for the purpose of this example, it's in the basement underneath the concrete floor because I can't add this much pipe for a toilet without drilling through a floor joist, which would be illegal. So don't do that. Try to set this up so that, like in most cases, if you're renovating, leave the toilet in the same location where it is. You can move it further along the same joist line, but if you want to relocate it in a different part of the bathroom, then you've got to also open up the wall and bring your stack. Instead of coming up over here, you'd have to move it over here because you can't drill through your floor joists, okay? Now, when I say you can't do it, it's not always necessarily the case. New engineered floor joist packages allow you to make a 3-inch hole because it's built different, but if you've got dimensional lumber, as a rule, no. If you want to contact the structural engineer, they might be able to design a system where they're laminating the joists for you, and they'll say you can do it in this condition if you drill this much hole. But again, you'd have to consult with a professional before you can do that. It's generally not accepted. Now, we take a TY to connect, because this is a drain. Remember, we're not doing 90s. You have to do the 45 angle, nice and slow. You put on your big sweeping 90. Okay, that's a huge sweeping 90. All right, that's for the toilet. And you take a little bit of pipe to go from flange to flange. And like I was talking about, if this was concrete, you'd put a cover on this, and then you do it, then you could take it off. But we did this in another video. We actually put the flange on, okay? Line up your toilet bowl perfect so that where your bolts are, they're at 9 and 3, if you're looking at a clock, if that's your wall, and you want to have it, the center of this should be 12 inches off the wall. That's a very standard depth. 12 inches of clearance from the wall to the center of the pipe means almost every toilet you buy will fit comfortably. If you put it in the wrong spot, or you have a house that the toilet's in the wrong spot and it's too close to the wall, there are toilets you can buy that will work in only 10 inches of clearance, but because they're not very common, the price goes way up. So if you're doing this yourself, make sure you give yourself extra room. Even set it to 12.5 if you got enough space for it. Okay, don't be afraid. And in this case, what I suggest is you take your Tapcon screws, put some 3-inch screws right in the holes, all right? And then backfill with your cement. And then the screws are already embedded. It's perfect, you don't have to drill and screw later. Now, you got your toilet. Now you need another piece of pipe. All right, make sure, one other thing, every time you tee off the main line, stay within 3 feet of the main line, okay? And then you aren't gonna have problems with venting. If I use this toilet run and I went 5 feet out, it would have a lot of problem with air, and it would be pulling air through the toilet, okay? Because it's too long a piece of pipe for that water to travel down. The exact science is not really worth talking about, but if you're less than 3 feet from your main stack, you don't need to add a vent line. If you go longer than that, you got to add another one of these bad boys on here, okay? And then bring another pipe up into the roof and connect it to the fresh air outside and vent that piece of pipe individually. Now, we're going to come down here now. We're going to tee off for the shower. No, the exact locations really aren't working for us, but that's fine. And we're going to use 2-inch pipe. Remember, you don't have to. We could do this with 1.5 inch, and we could use the 2-inch bushing, but since we're under concrete, we're going to go with 2-inch, and we also need a P-trap. Now in plumbing, every single fixture that's connecting to this line has to have a P-trap, and that's basically this. It only looks like a P if it's upside down. I don't really get it, why they call it P-trap. You stick this on, all right? And then this has to be glued. If this is under concrete and you don't have access to it, it has to be all glued. If it's underneath the floor and you don't have access to it, it's glued. If it's in the main floor and you have an unfinished basement, a lot of times you'll see they'll use a different P-trap that has an access port on it, okay? And if you're going to finish your ceiling and close that up, you have to add a trap door to that ceiling or replace that P-trap and put in something that's solid glued. Okay, whenever you don't have access to something, It can't have a trap door on it, all right? That's a simple thing to remember, but it's amazing how many times you'll see that mistake. Again, for the shower, you do this. Now this piece of pipe here, if you're running your shower, if you know the exact height of this pipe, that's great. But what I do is I usually take a couple of pieces of 1x4 and I'll put a box around the pipe here, okay, for the shower. Just a small box, about 6 inches wide. And I'll backfill all the concrete up to that box, okay? And then when it's all done, I can take the screws out. But the idea is this pipe here, you don't want that to be glued in when you're doing your concrete work. You want to do your concrete work up to the like a 6 inch by 6 inch box, laying in the gravel, come up to that box, okay? That gives you the ability to remove the pipe from the P-trap, okay, and cut it to the exact size when you're doing your flange for your shower, because that's very specific, and that'll be done when you install your shower base. Now, if you're looking to do a Schluter system, or if you have a new home, you're going to find that this pipe is actually glued in place. And it's just coming out of the ground. You'll just see concrete. That's what you're going to see. They're not helping us out here. And that's a really quick way for them to do their job, but it doesn't help you at all. So now Schluter's got a new product. We're going to link the card to that video. It's just a quick overview and we demonstrate how it works. But you cut the pipe and you can install your base drain anywhere now. So that's really cool. This scenario here is still only drain. You still want to be less than 3 feet from the main pipe, okay? If you're under concrete, all right, you definitely want to have it installed like this. But if you're in a floor joist cavity and you don't have quite enough room, and this does happen on occasion, where the P-trap, due to the nature of the plumbing and the location and slope on the pipe, it actually hangs below the floor joist, then you can actually do this. You can put it on a 45, all right? And then you can add a 45 fitting here and then put your pipe on. That way, the code allows for you to be on a 45-degree angle so that you can fit it between the joist package. And you don't have to build down your ceiling to accommodate that. Next thing you want to do when you're running your line is you want to go from a 3 to a 2-inch bushing, okay? Because you want to switch over from a 3-inch line to 2-inch pipe, because the only thing left in here is the sink. Now, you still want to have fresh air for venting all of these fixtures. So the way that we do that is we use what's called a wet vent. Now remember, we're using 3-inch pipe as a way to move solids for a toilet, all right? And water for other fixtures, but we don't have to have the 3-inch pipe all the way through the plumbing system. We could have interrupted this and gone to a 3 to a 2 bushing way back here even before the shower. Okay, you have options. Now, typical fashion, I went to the home hardware store. First time it's been open in a while, so I was firing through the bins and I grabbed the wrong size. So this doesn't actually fit in the 3-inch pipe, it fits in a 4 and goes to a 2. Same thing, only different. But for the purpose of my example here, I'm gonna just fake it. If you've been watching my channel, you know I'm cheap. I'm not actually gluing any of the fittings, I'm just dry fitting them together today, because when I'm done, I have no more plumbing at this house. I'm taking all this stuff back from getting my refund at Home Depot. So thanks Home Depot for helping me by lending me all the fixtures. Here we go. So this is what we're going to call a wet vent. And it's a 2-inch pipe. And I'll explain how this works. 2-inch pipe allows, by code, for you to drain clean water like a shower or a sink. And it still allows you to be the venting, okay? So as the water flows through your shower, and it's creating a vacuum in behind it. And that's the situation that most people make mistakes with their house. They don't understand how air flows with the water. Remember, if water's moving, then something has to come in behind that to fill up the void. So there is a vacuum that's created, and you have to have air. Now, everybody has a house, you got a little black pipe sticking out of the roof somewhere. That's the air intake for this system, okay? So you have to maintain the proper pipe size so that you can have the right amount of air pulling through, or you're gonna cause problems. It creates vacuums and back pressure, it slows things down. Water will run away and leave the solids in the pipe, and then you get plugging and clogs, and then you're constantly calling the plumber over to snake out your line. This is why. So in this configuration, once you get past the toilet, you can go down to 2-inch pipe, all right? And then you want to use the really long 90, okay? Use the long 90. You're going to connect that. Now we're still underneath the floor, okay? But usually that comes up to about where the floor is. And then you're going to want about 18 to 20 inches from the floor to the center of this. Now this fitting here is a T90, and it's allowed in this scenario to bring the plumbing from the sink or the vanity into the wall right here. Okay, it's 2 inch, 1.5, 1.5. And whenever you see a 2-inch pipe coming out of the floor in this situation, like if you have a house with a rough-in, you know that this is designed to be the wet vent. Okay, you don't just put an elbow in and bring your sink here. You've got to connect the rest of this to the rest of the house. So to understand the venting of the house, we use 3-inch pipe whenever we're moving solids with a toilet. We use 2-inch pipe for showers and vanities if it's operating as a drain and a venting system, okay? Which is why I like to run a 2-inch pipe to the shower, even if it's less than 3 feet away, because it just helps to facilitate moving water quickly and easily. Here, we're gonna bring 2-inch to the 1.5 where your vanity is, and then finish off with 1.5 going all the way to the roof. And that's the wild part, because a 1.5-inch pipe in my region is allowable by the code to have up to 10 fixtures attached to this venting line. So I can have a combination of 10 toilets, showers, and sinks on one pipe going up through the roof, which is amazing because it's not a lot of pipe. But if you don't do these things properly, you're gonna run into air problems and then you're done. And you can't just run this into your attic. You gotta get it right to the fresh air outside, okay? Now, when you're all done with your rough-in, you finish your wall, you put your cabinet in, this pipe, remember, you don't want it glued in, okay? You just want to have it set there. There we go. Because you want to take the cap off, cut it to the right size to attach your P-trap. All right? Boom. Now, the P-trap has got a threaded connection here, okay? And you want to put Teflon tape on there when you make this connection because it has to be watertight and protect you from gases. And it has the, gonna go get my ring that I dropped down the sink, honey, trap door here as well. And so this is used, you can actually drain the water out of this P-trap if you ever have to cut the line and make connections or adjustments when you're renovating. And that is super handy. Now, I have had this question asked a lot of times. People make comments and they say, hey, how do I know there's a P-trap under the concrete? It's a good question. I mean, just the fact that the code says it's supposed to be there doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be there. So what you do, here's the secret. Take your test cap, or if they have a glued cap, that's fine, cut that off, okay? Take your flashlight or your camera, put on the flashlight feature, and shine it in there, okay? And if it's holding water, it's a P-trap. If it's not holding water, then go get yourself, I don't know, like a good 8-ounce glass of water and pour it in there, and it should stay. You should see it resting in the pipe, okay? If the water just goes away and you don't see it, there is no P-trap. That's the easiest way to find out, okay? So if you don't see water, add some. If you still don't see water, you don't have a P-trap, because the P-trap is always supposed to be right at the point before your pipe comes out of the concrete, okay? Remember, this is the P-trap right here. This is what pipe you're seeing. Let's say you're in a situation, now we've got a toilet roughed in, we've got our sink roughed in, shower roughed in, we've got our vent pipe. Venting is awesome. When you're putting in vent pipe, you've got a little flexibility. If this is your drain, now you can take this pipe, has to come higher than your fixture. So your venting always has to come above your fixture before you do your turns, okay? So if you wanted to go around the room to go up to the roof somewhere else, you can, but make sure your pipe is higher than the fixture, so no matter what kind of flooding situation you got going on here, you're always going to be able to bring air to that and it's not going to get filled itself. If you cut this too low and you start running around the room, and you'll see this in older houses a lot, the water can actually back up from clogs right into the vent system, and now you're not supplying air to any other plumbing fixture as well. That's a problem, okay? Now, one last demonstration. We're going to show you how to run the venting through your roof. So if you're adding new venting, or you have an old house and they just put it to the attic and they never ran it through the roof, or you're doing an addition or adding another bathroom, or you're installing a new macerator unit, we'll put that card in the video as well, because you can add a bathroom anywhere in your house even if you don't have plumbing with that unit, but you've got to add venting, the fresh air. So we're going to show you how to do that and run it right through the roof. So we put together a little mock roof here for you so we can demonstrate how to cut it in. Now here's your 1.5 inch pipe. Okay, it's going all the way up into the attic. All right, and what you want to do is when you get near the roof, you want to put on your 1.5 to 3 inch bushing, and then you put on your 3 inch pipe coupling, because the bushing is the same size as the pipe. All right, and then you can put on a 3 inch piece of pipe. Now that's a lot of assembly, but the point is this. These things that you buy at Home Depot, okay, or your building store, are designed to go in the roof, and this line right here, if you read the instructions careful, this is designed for the 3 inch pipe to force its way through in order to create a watertight seal, okay? I know, it looks like you're gonna run a 2 inch pipe through there, but they're looking for the 3 inch pipe. Amazing. So what we do is we'll crawl up on the roof and we'll find the location where we wanna run the pipe. It's best to drill the hole and install this first, and then get into your attic and make the connection from inside, because it's venting. You can put as many elbows and fittings as you want to get it to the right place. It's only moving air, so it doesn't have the same restriction as water. You can go as many tight little 90 fittings as you want. And what you want to do is you want to work it up underneath the shingle, and right up to the top of this course line here. Okay? And here's why. This is the location that you want. Not down here, not all on top. Okay? You want to get underneath the water deflection system and butt it right up against that shingle. That's the best location for this. This gives you the ability, you throw a couple of nails in, and they even have little spots here where the nails go, okay? And if you don't want to see the shiny nails on the roof, then when you're done, you can take the black roofing adhesive that's in the caulking gun, and you can put a dab of that on there. Actually, we have a caulking video who actually demonstrates which product that is. So you can watch that link as well. You nail this in place, and then you have to have a hole. So what you're gonna do is when you're on the roof, slide it in position where you want it, okay? And you don't want your pipe coming out like that. You want it coming out straight up, okay? So set your pipe there, give it a couple of shots, and it'll leave a dent right there in the roof. That's where it was, right there. It's not very visible on camera, I don't think, but I can definitely feel it. Okay, and then you want to take out your trusty little saw. Battery powered is great on a roof, okay? And we're gonna just cut a hole that's more than big enough for this pipe. There we go. Okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this up here under the water deflection system, okay? The next course of shingles is going to come right to about here. And you'll see the weak spot on the roof is right here. So this is where you want to get your caulking, your ceiling roof, your roofing caulking. You want to fill that gap right there really badly. It's important. Now, take all of those fittings from underneath, okay, and you push them through. Now, because of this demonstration, I don't have enough room. I'm going to try to wiggle this in here. We're going to stick our pipe through. Okay? Now, the building code does not require this to be perpendicular, but you'll notice that with this particular hole, it's so far high up here that I can't maneuver that pipe, right? Without possibly going higher up on the roof. There we go. And that's acceptable as well. Just trim your shingle back. All right? But that's the look. You gotta love it. So a few nails, just cut a hole. You don't have to worry about the strength of the roof either. There's lumber every 16 inches on a roof, and then it's more than capable of handling the weight. And when you see something like this, you know you got a hole in the roof, so you're not gonna be standing right next to it and putting all your weight on there, okay? But that's how you bring that in. Now, you don't do anything on top. This just stays open, okay? Trust me, birds don't love this. They won't nest there. It stinks. It's got the sewer gas coming out all the time. And whenever you flush a toilet or wash your hands, the air gets pulled in here really quick, okay? And it follows the water and makes sure that the water and everything runs out really nice and gentle. All right, now there's two quick common mistakes that I see a lot of DIYers doing, and I just want to bring it to your attention. And that is this: when you're putting in your pipe, okay, this is level, that's bad, okay? You don't want level pipe. You always want to have it draining towards the street. So you don't want to have it too aggressive. You want it on 1 degree, okay? Now, that is about 1 inch every 4 feet. That's the slope. Measure off your floor joist or something, but you want to have a slow slope like this. Here's why. Imagine a big ball of toilet paper, all right? And your pipe is flat. It comes down, and it just gets stuck here, sitting in water on both sides. On one, if you've got too much of a degree, it comes down, and the water goes faster than the toilet paper, and the toilet paper ends up being left, okay? And it sits there until the next time and the next time, and all it takes is a couple of occasions like that, and you've got a clog and a plug, and it's nasty. If you're on 1 degree, okay? If the pipe was hollow, I'd be able to show you a better demonstration, but, or if the pipe was clear, I could show you. But 1 degree slope, the solids and the water all drain at the same rate, so nothing's left in the pipe, it stays clean. It's a very important measurement that you've got to take into consideration, so take your time and check your slope 1 inch over 4 feet. The second mistake that people make all the time, is they're using SharkBite fittings in situations where they don't have access to them. Let's face it, like I've seen this a lot. I've been in the store recently down in Florida, and they sell SharkBite fittings that are designed to be in the wall where your shower head comes out. I mean, I couldn't even believe that, because you're guaranteed that's buried in a wall, right? Why are they making those? I'm not sure if your code is different, but up here we gotta have access. Buy yourself a spring door, okay? These are awesome. Now, I'm gonna need one of these sooner or later on this job, so I'm just gonna open this up. The way this works is you have, this is an 8 by 8, okay, 8 by 8 inch panel. You need to cut a hole in the drywall, probably, I'm gonna say 7 by 7, okay? So what happens is when you have your hole, okay, you use the spring load end here, and you run it up and you can slide, and then you can push it in the hole and set it in place. And when you want to take it off, it's the same thing, okay? Make sense? Okay, buy one. They're just a few bucks, and you can paint it to look like your wall. It's not the end of the world. Most of the time, if you're gonna have a SharkBite connection, you're going from copper to PEX, it's in a wall next to the toilet, or it's on the back inside a closet in the neighboring bedroom. It's not a big deal. So if you wanna use copper to PEX, you wanna use SharkBite fittings, get yourself a trapdoor, all right? Have access, and every once a year, when you change the batteries on your smoke alarms, just add it to the list. Just, you know, go have a quick peek, see what's going on in there, make sure it's still working fine, and you know, it's a good habit to have. Because if you ever do need to do any maintenance on it, then all you have to do is pop the door open, okay? But if you don't have a door, and you sell your house, and somebody else buys it, and they start to get a drip, at least they'll know where to look, okay? Now that is how we understand plumbing basics. Understand that's just the basics. There are a lot more technical situations that a plumber can get involved with, but if you're doing DIY plumbing, that should get you pretty much out of the woods when it comes to adding a bathroom in a basement or renovating your bathroom upstairs. All right, so if you learned anything today, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your bell for notifications, all right? And if you've got questions about plumbing, then ask them in the comments section below, okay? And don't forget, if you're doing a major project and you're in a little over your head and you need a little extra help, consider joining our membership program, and we'll give you our email, and then we can correspond and hopefully be able to solve your problem. Hey, and if you like learning about tips and tricks and how to do renovations at home, then click the link right here. We've got a few other videos where I did my bench series, we're gonna call it. I discuss all the tools and the tricks of the trade for various different types of renovation work. We'll see you again next time.